Hello, guys. Welcome to the process on this Wednesday night, 316. Thank you for joining. Hello, Alessandra. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing tonight, Denard?
Excellent. Excellent. Getting ready for this wonderful show tonight. And, getting ready to go into a couple controversial things, a couple voting issues, and a little bit of ST91.
There we go. There we go. Let's talk about it.
So,
Happy
without
Wednesday night, everybody.
Happy Wednesday night. Thank you for joining in. And you know what? There's just this one little thing I just want to share with everybody. One little thing. Guys, just pay attention, really. So, guys, thank you to all our subscribers. Thank you to everyone who's been watching and commenting. And if you don't know, guys, we have our YouTube channel. Please go to SterilMD on YouTube.com. Hit that like and subscribe button, and also use your little pinky finger and hit that notification bell on the right hand side. And you will be informed every time we have some new content or new show coming up. But without any further ado, let's get into this one little extra thing. Welcome back. Welcome back. And we're ready to roll. Alessandra, what are we getting into first? What are we getting
All
into on
right.
this one?
So tonight, I think the first thing I want to hit is that the polls are open.
Open.
Open. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, then you're under a rock and you need to figure it out. HSPA board nominations are happening this year, and I'm super excited for all the candidates because it is an outstanding representation this year. So that's what we're getting into first.
So let me just, you want me to get into the names?
No, not just yet.
Not
Not
yet,
just
okay,
yet.
not yet.
I
All
want to
right.
talk a little bit about the board process and the voting. So, before we even get into the candidates. So, if you are a card carrying HSPA, formerly Isham member, then and you have been so for the last 30 days or more, you are eligible to submit a vote on behalf of each candidate or each position on the HSPA board. So, in a few minutes, we'll go through what the positions are and who's running. And also, I just want you guys to be aware that the process is going to be hosting an HSPA election forum. It's going to be a 2-day event. We reached out to all of the nominees except for Jan. If anybody can help me get in contact with Jan, please. But we've got in contact with all the nominees, and we'll be having them on to talk about their backgrounds and what they hope to bring to these positions. We want you guys to be informed. Voting opened, I believe, yesterday, and voting stays open until April 6th. And the function of the board, just to give a little bit of overview, is essentially they help make the decisions of the running, the day-to-day operations, what the mission and vision is of HSPA. So if you are anyone that has ever stood around a break room table and had a complaint about Isham or HSPA and what they should do and what they shouldn't do and how they should do it, then I highly encourage you to cast a vote. Okay. So if you don't mind, Denard, can you talk to us about what these positions are and who is running?
All right, all right. This is what I've been waiting for. This is what I've been waiting the whole week for. I'm just kidding. But right. So president elect. Here we go. Do I have any? Let me get some background music in here. So president elect for election Anthony L. Bundan. He has a BSN, a CRCST, and a CHL, and he's running against or alongside of, however you want to look at it, uh, Monique Gels. Sorry, Monique, if I put your name. She has a MSOL, a BA, and a CRCST. So
And
after
I'm
the
gonna get
duet.
there because I really want to hear these names, and the background music is
Oh, it's
much,
killing you. Oh, I am sorry. Let me bring it down a little bit.
much.
All right. So Anthony
So
L.
that was
Vanden and we have Monique
the
Jelks.
Monique jokes.
So
Okay,
for secretary, treasurer, we have Tammy Headcock, MBA, CRCST, CIS, CHL. We also
okay, you ain't
have,
got them all.
beg your pardon?
Did you get them all? Is that all four?
Yep, yep. MBA, CRCST. No, she has the MBA and three. She doesn't have the
Okay,
CPR.
but you wasn't got that master's degree. Okay,
Yes,
okay,
yes. She's woo.
get
So
that.
yeah. So then we have Jan Prudent. She has a
Y'all help me
BA.
find you.
She has a CRCST, a CHL, a CER, a C. Did I say? Did I miss something? Let me go back. She has a BA, CRCST, CIS, CER, CHL, CFER, FCS.
Get it. They don't play.
LMNOP. Um. So Jan and Tammy are going for secretary treasurer.
Awesome.
So for the directors, we have a couple of familiar faces on here. I know some of these people. For directors, we have Densley Cook. He has an MBA, a BSHM, a CST, a CRCST, a CHL, and a CER. All right. So I should have I should have read where they're from, right?
No, I don't want to. We ain't got
Not
to
to
get into
worry
all
too
that
much.
tonight.
Okay, because they'll be on the show, and
They will be here.
you'll get to
Three
hear
twenty
them.
three and 3:30, and so
Yep,
we'll be having everybody that's willing to come on and chat with us to come and have a little 5-5 chat.
definitely, definitely. So then we have Miss Sarah B. Cruz, CSB, CSPDT, CRCST, CHL.
Come
We
on.
have Mr. Brandon M. Gant. He has a MHA, CRCST, CHL, and CER. We also have Miss Bet Beat, sorry, Greta. Am I saying that right? I hope I apologize if I'm messing your name up.
She can
He-
correct us.
She has a MHA, BSN, RN, RCIS, RCES, CRCST, and a CHL.
Awesome.
And we have Mr. Ken Hare, HARE, and he has a CRCST. And we also have one more, last but not least, um, Hafiz Abdul Man
Manan. I talked
Manan.
to him yesterday, actually.
Hafiz Abdul Manan. I have
Yes.
to put on my accent for to get that one. Um, he has a BSc, MPHIL. Was that the M full? I'm not too sure exactly. I'll have to look that one up too. Maybe I can get that one day. And the CRCST. So, guys, wishing you guys the best of luck and looking to have you guys on the show next week and the week after.
Yeah, and I do want to add about Abdul Manan that he is coming to us out of Pakistan, and I found that to be really refreshing. I've been certified now since 2008, I think. Maybe a little earlier, something like that. But last year was the first year that I ever paid attention to and got involved in the boards, and it was actually because of the process, because of the conversation that started in the process group. So I spent some time learning a little bit about it, and part of our goal with the forum for the next 2 weeks is to bring on not only the candidates but also current election or current board members, so that you guys can get a deeper understanding of what the board does and why may you want to be a little more involved, or kind of understand how these decision processes take place. But the other thing about it I think is really important is just understanding that there are people that do a lot of work in the background for free to move our industry forward, in various ways, and we need to support them. Especially if we're not going to do it right, if we're not going to be the ones up here making education or traveling the country or traveling the world, spreading this gospel or going to the legislator, that's okay. We all got to do our part. But for the ones of us that are willing to stand up and take on those additional responsibilities, let's at least give them the courtesy of our attention, and our vote.
True, I agree. I agree because I've seen throughout the years we have many technicians going to into entrepreneurship and branching out, and they definitely need our support. So kudos to
Absolutely.
those guys.
And representation matters too. That was how I started with the process last year. Was a big conversation about representation, and I love what Arlene said. That yes, I love that we have an international nomination. I'm not gonna say that Abdul should just win because he's from Pakistan, but I do think it's really important for us to consider things like that when we consider who we vote for. Who could get on this board any year? Who is it that this is your first time seeing this type of person on this stage? What value can they add? And is it important enough for you to understand that we need to have that consensus? We need to make room at the table for every intersection so that when we make decisions and we make efforts, we are including each other and we're not excluding each other. Some things that some folks think are great, like the legislation being passed for certification, other people have found it to be barring them from being able to get in or stopping them from being able to find good education. So we have to have people from varying backgrounds on the board.
Definitely, definitely. I like the diversity
Yeah.
first and foremost. I know a couple of a few of these folks have been in around speaking
Yep.
for a long time, so I definitely appreciate their putting their time out there because you're not getting a huge salary or any salary for doing this.
No.
It's just, basically, you love it. That's why you're doing it. So I really
Basically, you
appreciate
love it, and
those.
that's why you're doing it. You know, that's good stuff. And also, like you said, there's a lot of entrepreneurs in our field. There's a lot of people that have LLCs, multiple LLCs, and you can't ever discount the opportunity that this type of networking can have for your business. So I don't want to make it seem like there's no opportunity for advancement, for these folks. Not saying that anybody's getting on the board to, make a business deal, but this does put you in the room with some heavy hitters. So you do, think about that. Think about who's showing up in your communities, who's educating you. Where do you go? Do you go to your conference chapters? Do you see people that you see represented there? Really think deeply about your vote.
And guys, don't simply think because I know people look at their position within a department and that kind of
Yes,
equates to whether they're affiliate or not. Whether you have technician on your badge or not doesn't matter. You still have potential to get in the
yes,
room. Certain people, you're an expert, by right of being certified. So, um, get into the room with those persons, those leaders, those managers, those influencers within the cell processing network, and speak to them. Maybe you can get some ideas on how to, create that product that opens up the run jaw and goes through the washer, or some special tip protector. Get get those ideas flowing so that maybe you could be an inventor in the future and come out with a
absolutely.
product and be prosperous.
Absolutely. And I think it's just confidence building too. A lot of times we look up to people and we idolize them, far beyond what is truly there. And not to downplay anyone, but to say that all of us have something that we can offer. And so just put yourself in the room. You might be surprised to see that you can hold your own with some of these folks that you really, really do look up to. They are so cute. I have visitors. Oh, that's so
So hey,
adorable.
so let me give a little shout out to our viewers. We have Miss Rebecca here. Rebecca.
Hey, Rebecca. Hey, Arlene.
We have Leslie K. Hope you're doing well, Leslie. Haven't seen Leslie in a little bit, so
I miss you. Best friend, I miss you. Study hard. When you know you're in nursing school, get it done. We can't wait to see you take over the periop department.
yeah, she'll be good at it too. She'll be very good.
Oh, she's gonna be beyond good at it. All
So
right,
I
let's
wanted
get
to
into the next topic.
I wanted to segue into a couple polls we had,
Cool.
if that's okay with you.
Let's talk about the polls. The polls today were hot. What was that question? It about blew me back.
So the
I was like, wait a minute, hold on.
so the poll today. Let me make sure I get it right. So the poll today was on. All right. So let me just. I don't have to read it. So okay, your tray goes up to a room, right? They start opening it up. They probably use the ring stand sometimes, or a little back table other than the main back table, and they open it up, they put it up to the light, and oops, it has a hole, right? They see a
Oops.
hole. So the tree has the hole in the wrapper, right? There's a ding 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 hole in the wrapper. All right, so what should they do, and what should you do? Oh, and just making like it's one team, right?
Oh, is it?
Or not. So what should we do at that point? Should we rewrap and sterilize? Should we take it down in a closed cart, rewrap it, sterilize it, or should we decontaminate it, rewrap it, and sterilize it? Those were the options. Hmm.
And
So,
just for clarification, because I know it got asked several times,
mhm,
patient was in the room.
yeah. So,
Okay.
would there be a difference if the patient was in the room
For
or not?
me, no, but I get asked that constantly. And I saw somebody ask it today. And so I'm just, for me, no. Once the tray is open and the sterile barrier is broken, we start over from the top, period.
What's your
No.
reasoning behind that? What's your reasoning? Like, I don't understand.
Because I cannot
Why
guarantee,
you want to waste time and wash it again? That's all I'm saying. Like, why you want to, like, we knit the tray right now. Why you want to waste the time and wash it again? Like, I'm just saying, like, you
it's
know,
never a waste of time to give a patient a clean and sterile product.
but it's clean. Like, it's clean.
No, it's not. It's
Why is
not
it
clean.
clean?
And I can't certify it's clean.
That's
And
not,
any SPD tech worth their weight in salt coming around Alessandra needs to understand that. It's not clean just because you don't see bioburden on it. If SPD doesn't understand and respect the fact that you cannot see all of the germs on the instruments, then why are we yelling into a vacuum anyway? If we don't understand it, then why are we complaining because other people don't understand it?
it's just
Once you open that tray, it's now contaminated.
a hole in the wrapper. It's not.
And
It's not
and
that
and I
serious.
loved Jake McHugh's response because he also added this very obvious point that you
Hmm.
have no clue when that hole was placed in that tray. You don't know. So I don't know what it's been touching, what's been moving through this barrier this entire time. And I, for one, am not going to guess. My entire job is to take as much of the guessing out about the cleanliness as possible. Take it back to decontam.
So you're gonna waste all this time and wash the tray.
If you call it a waste of time to make sure that my patient is safe, then by golly, let's go because
So all right.
that's the long and the short of it. But I do want to add this
Mhm.
from a policy perspective. You're gonna do, or you're going to be asked to do whatever the hospital policy is. And they can absolutely make a policy that says if that tray is open in the room, that you need to skip decontam and go straight to sterilization. And they can do that honestly without a whole lot of paperwork. You would love to see that they did a risk assessment and they really put thought and research into this, but more than likely they could just arbitrarily put that in their policy, sign it through their policy committee, and call it good. So
Mhm.
at that point, what do you do? Because as a tech, if I don't follow the policy, I will be reprimanded and possibly terminated.
Yep. Yep.
What do you
So
do?
policies and procedures, that's one area it could bite you
One, yeah.
uh, if they're not updated correctly. So let me
But
get
what's correctly if it's up to my individual facility what they do?
okay, let's say best practice.
Thank you. I thank you.
All right, let's just keep it on the right track here. So out of, let me count that on my fingers, out of 25 votes, 23 said we're gonna decontaminate, rewrap, and sterilize. Po, 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 po. And two said we're just gonna rewrap and sterilize. So,
No,
so,
we're
um,
making room for all viewpoints here on the
yes,
podcast.
yes, yes. So, oh no,
Standards. Standards, man. This is another key issue in our industry, the fact that we don't have standardization on our practice. Not about which machine you use or which tracking system you buy, but basic agreed upon standards of care should be provided so that we don't have to have these conversations on the floor where we have no power. Nobody's going to take my CRCST card if I sterilize that tray without washing it.
No one.
No one.
There's no officer standing at the door saying, "Hey,
No one is
what
going to
what
drag
the
me off the floor for that.
hmm
And honestly, if I could be perfectly honest, I have said that to leaders. Like, I'm not on my license, not on my certification, not on my CRCST. But is there really a hotline they could call? No.
You know, there should be the surgeons call that line every time they finish a case and talk about what went through the case, what happened, and how they got
And do
through.
their debrief? Yeah.
Yeah, the little debrief, right? So maybe we should have a little debrief in cell processing after the day. Maybe the supervisor or manager could say, "Hey, well, I ran 20 cycles today, blah blah blah. Each one went well, blah 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 blah. Blah. Okay,
Y'all
we
don't
had
do
a
shit.
we had a hole in the wrapper. We brought it down. We didn't wash it. We just rewrapped instead. So at least that could be documented somewhere in some database where you know now.
Man, and that was definitely my main point of contention was if you want to do this, okay, but you have to sign off on it. And the response that I got was a swift hell to the no, we're not signing that. It's just like when you tell them, hey, you want to take this trade before the implant, you got to sign the early release form. And how many techs out there have gotten that response back from the surgeon to say, the hell with your implant early release form? I don't care. Bring me my tray.
Hmm.
So for everyone that does it properly, there's another one that absolutely throws it in your face that you have no power in that situation.
So I personally or professionally, I try not to bring my personal into things, but professionally, I think you should decontaminate because you do not know where that hole was.
No.
What's the word? Where the puncture began, right?
Right.
Right. You do not know. It could have been in cell processing. It could have been on the rack for months or weeks. It could have been just carrying it from the cart to the room.
Yeah, I might get some crime. Just FYI.
All right. It could have been somebody with a ring on their finger, poked it. It could have been lifted too high,
Honey.
scraped the shelf. There are a bunch of reasons, but we really don't know where for sure or what creepy crawly thing went up in there. We
You
really don't.
don't.
We
You
really
don't. And again, I just contend if SPD doesn't understand that, then how are we convincing nurses? How are we convincing infection control? How are we convincing patients and surgeons if we don't understand that you cannot see all the germs on these layers here?
yeah, it's
So
just. Uh-huh.
Veronica is asking what does certification mean? Um, and I would encourage you guys to go back to some of our earlier episodes because we did a lot on this. But just doing a quick Google certification. Certification is the formal attestation or confirmation of certain characteristics or an object, person, or organization. This confirmation is often but not always provided by some form of external review, education, assessment, or audit. Accreditation is a specific organization's process for certification. So it's not licensure, which is what the nurses have. And it's a really important distinction because it doesn't come with the same weight.
Mhm.
It's certifying that you have knowledge in this, but it's not saying that if you do this wrong.
Right. And some certifications are baseline knowledge, and some certifications are really intricate, and they want you to know every aspect of the field.
Yeah,
So you can't lump all certifications on the same level either, because I know
not
some
at all.
certifications you have to
They're
really,
really intense.
really dig into that. It's almost like on a degree, a level of a degree. All the information you need to know, and some certifications are really simple. You read one book and you go, you get it, you're done. So
So
let's get
that's that.
yeah, guys. So guys, try to see, if you could just check out your standards. Check the standards out and see,
And
and
do what you
then
can from where you are.
inform your the second half of your team, which is the OR. Inform them before these things happen, because the worst time to try and say, "Hey, this is going to take 3 hours," is when you're actually in the melee, right? You want to prepare for that in advance and say, "Hey, this is what if this happens, this is what we're going to
As
do."
best, yeah, as best you can, make the effort to do it in advance.
Yeah,
And
like if you have a slow month, a slow week, a slow something, okay, let's go through a policy. Let me look at this policy. Let's revamp it. Let's bring it up to everybody before we get into the 60 cases a day, 20 orthopedic cases type of weeks,
right,
and we could get that ironed out before we get the bioburden, the hole in the wrappers, and all that. Especially the pandemic was a good time to iron those things out. If anybody did that, I did a couple little projects during the pandemic because I mean it's the best time to get all that little stuff ironed out.
yeah, if you
It's not little, it's little stuff when it's not an emergency. Or my word, the worst acronym I've learned since I started processing, it was ASAP, and that's
Nah.
the worst
Ain't
one.
nothing wrong with a little ASAP. You just got to be prepared
No,
for it.
no.
Opportunity favors the prepared. And sometimes you do have to execute quickly. When there's an emergency, I don't want my nurse scared of ASAP if I'm coding. She has to be ready to move, or he has to be ready to move. Like, you have to, like you said, take the time to prepare before so that when ASP happens, you still stay on quality, on brand, on target, on
Mhm.
safety.
Yep.
Instead of, oh my God, what do we do?
Right.
Whatever it takes.
ASAP, just sprinkle some water on it and get it hot and bring it back.
It's
Um,
clear.
it's yours now.
And I think also other thing you said was about those emergencies is defining what is an emergency. And this is a lot of conversation I've had is, an emergency for a surgeon may be the fact that they have clinics later, and if they push this back an hour, they're going to have to push back 20 patients, and they don't feel like it, and that makes it an emergency. And not that it's not an inconvenience for all those people, but that's not the same as life and limb, right? So I think there also needs to be some grounding in these periop conversations about what is an actual emergency, and at what point do I start taking out safety brackets in order to meet my protocol, because my patient is bleeding out. I might not sterilize that tray if it's going to be the difference between life and death. But to your point, I'm not trying to figure that out while they're bleeding out, and I'm not trying to argue that down with somebody while everybody's in the heat of the moment.
Right.
Craziness.
I want to say more, but I'll say less. Let's move on to the next
Next topic.
next
Next.
poll. The next poll. Okay, so we had this poll on March 4th. Should AME SC79 be made available free to all certified cell processing professionals? What's your take?
My take is yes, but I know
But
everybody has to make money. Also, I know that it costs money to make those books, so I understand, something as far as reciprocation. I don't know how their money process works, or even ours. Like, I don't know what happens to our dollars when we buy books or seminars and stuff like that. So that's something that we can definitely look into. But I generally feel that if we expect for the technicians to keep the patient safe, then they should have access to those tools. That should be mandatory. And I don't think it's good enough anymore to say that it should be in the hands of the individual facility, because we've seen what they've done with process and protocols and research and
mm,
integrity. So it should be for a tech, it should be free or at least heavily discounted. I mean,
definitely
our techs are paid the least out of anybody in the operating room. Why are we price gouging them too?
true, true, true. But my take on that was, isn't it bought on an organizational level, and and our main body's organizations?
If your organization buys it, so hospitals aren't required to buy anything.
What do you
you
consider
know,
organization? That's what I wanted to know. Like,
say that again.
if you're a member of an organization, i.e., mm, 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 should you be able to?
Get a free copy
Yeah,
as a card carrying.
yeah.
I like that idea. I've never heard that before, but I like that idea.
Because you're a member of the organization, right? If you're a member of Google, you should be. Oh,
Abreast of
let me
their
see.
protocol.
So if you're if you're a Comcast employee, right?
Yeah.
No shit on Comcast. You get a discount on your cable, right? You get
Right.
you get every channel. I knew someone who worked for Comcast. They only paid $10 a month, and they got everything.
Right.
So if you're a member of another organization, I can't think of one right now, and you're certified, shouldn't you be able to get a major discount if they purchase, something like that?
I like that idea.
Thinking out loud. Um,
I know there's member rate discounts. Like I know that these groups have member rate discounts. Now, to what extent does it make it affordable for somebody that's making $18 an hour in a market where their rent is $3,000 a month? Or like does it take care of the SPD techs in the South that are still making minimum wage? I don't think so. And if the system doesn't care enough about valuing them to pay them enough, they probably really don't care about them standards either. So and if it's a box that I have to check, I'm gonna buy it, but does that mean it's available on the floor? How many SPD techs out there know they don't have access to the MSDS or SDS now? A copy of Amy, a copy of an Isham textbook. It's not readily available everywhere. Some people, it's a computer. I press it, and it's right in front of my fingertips. I go on the internet, it's right in front of my face. But there are folks still out here on file cabinets, so we have to be mindful of that. And every patient deserves a safe surgery, so every patient deserves a competent tech.
mhm. So out of 39 votes, two two-person says not free, but overly they're overly expensive. So they don't mind it. They don't mind it being not being free, but it's a little too expensive, right? We had 11 voters say yes, it is needed. There definitely need to be some kind of free, addition. Maybe not the whole thing,
Not
but
the
maybe a
whole
free
thing, but
one.
the basics, the hot topics,
And someone
the non-negotiables.
exactly, and 26 indicated that all SPD professionals in general, regardless of certification status, should have a free copy. We're gonna give it out like pies. Let's go. Free copy for
Something.
you.
I agree with you. Something. Like I said before, I mean, everything's a business. It costs money to operate,
Yeah,
costs money to make those books,
true.
but does it cost as much as they cost? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we could find out.
Next guy. Next. So let's get into this one really quickly. What time is it? So, guys, again, if you don't know, we have our YouTube channel growing really nicely. Appreciate the support, appreciate the comments. Please, guys, if you haven't subscribed yet, please go to sterolemdyoutube.com, like and subscribe, and also hit that notification bell with your pinky.
A panky.
Tap it, and you will be notified every time we have new content coming out.
Why
So,
with your pinky, you ask? Because we're rich with knowledge. Happy Wednesday, guys.
trust me, use your pinky, and your day will be better. Don't use your thumb. You might end up. It might be a little
Upset.
more of a struggle. Like just, bam,
Not my fault.
right? Yeah.
So
So our
what
next
was the next poll?
our next poll for the sterilization cycle of your rigid scopes, right? So I think this is a little controversial. Do you keep your light source adapter on or off? That little round adapter you twist, you put the light source on there. Boom, boom,
Right.
boom. Sometimes they leave it on the cord. Sometimes it's on the scope when it comes down. So do you take it off when you put it in that little tray, or do you keep it on nice and tight? What do you do? What should you do? So you want to
you
go first?
you should disassemble it as far as you can per the
So
IFU.
I have seen one manufacturer not indicate that it should come
Yep,
off.
it's per the IFU.
So
Because
I
there are a
think
few now that will tell you can leave it on as long
yeah,
as everybody knows not to take it off once it's sterile.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I have seen that. So definitely check out your IFUs, guys. And don't always go on the IFUs from the 90s or the early 2000s. Things have
Please
been
stop telling
changing.
people that's how you always done it.
Yep, yep. You know, Miss Miss Joanna told you that 20 years ago when
20
you
years
started.
ago.
Yep. And you never sign off on a competency, but you just keep doing it over and over and over again.
Ooh, or you're a manager that hasn't verified that your employees know these things by doing correct competencies. You're just assuming that they're taking it on.
Yeah, yep. Guys,
Cut it out.
always check for that little jingle in the tray. If it's jingling, it's off. If it's no jingle, it's on there. Right? That's how we do it, right?
Wow,
That's how we do it, right, Alessandra?
man.
Yeah, if you get
Yeah.
that little shake in the tray, it's off. No shake, it's on. We can't use it. So,
Man, shout out to all the SPD techs that can figure out what's inside a pack by just the weight or the. Because there's some savants out there that'll be like,
nah, nah.
ortho mallet for the
Yeah,
ankle.
yeah. That's an osteotome. Oh, osteotomes in there. Yeah.
1/4 size osteotome, 8 inches.
That trade's kind of light. It's missing stuff. It's missing a lot.
Right? I can tell this tray is incomplete,
Yeah,
but it doesn't have a missing sticker.
yeah. Just put a missing that. Nah, I won't touch that one. It's missing a lot of stuff. So,
Ah, yes, thank
yeah.
you. You guys are heroes.
So out of 37 votes, 4 persons said keep it on, and 33 said take it off. hmm And I'm one of the
Four
I'm
people
one of the
on
people
IFU.
on the IFU, because there are certain scopes I do have. I want to keep it on so bad, but I can't because the
Yeah,
IFU doesn't.
that's that.
So,
And I actually have had an experience where, per the IFU, we could do whatever we decided to do, and we opted to go for the higher standard of care, which was to take it off. But what we didn't realize was that our end users had never seen it with it apart. So they ended up in an
oh,
ASAP situation where they needed to attach them, but they had no clue how they went together. And I mean, it's funny to laugh on this side, but they were bedside with a patient that needed to be intubated, and they couldn't get that scope together.
yeah.
That was not funny.
I got called to a room one time. You know those small frag depth gauges,
Yes,
the
who
three
doesn't
pieces.
know about that small
I
fragment?
got called to a room. We don't know how to put it together. We don't know. We have no idea. Can you
No
help us
idea.
out? That was crazy. But I
No
digress.
idea.
So
Drop in the comments if you're watching. Drop in the comments an instrument that you struggle to assemble and disassemble. I just want to know what y'all
mm,
have. Because I've had a few. Man, those IMP boots, the way they used to be, they've been revamped. But that little block and the screw and the silicone inside.
no, you know those Zima Biomed hip trays. No. No, anyway.
Thank God for research and development.
Yep. How do we clean those? So next, do you tip integrate? Huh? What's that?
That's a
Um,
little one.
do you tip integrators on your count sheet bag?
No.
So out of 40, this one was a lot. Out of 48, 7 persons said yes, and 41 said no. So where do you stand on that? Or you want me to go? You want to do the baby talk first? All right. So I think something came out on that a few years ago. That tape adhesive within the tree was a bad thing. So I'll just keep it simple, plain. Any adhesive in the tree might be a conduit for microorganisms, and you can't really sterilize below the tape. So that might be, it's a small risk, but it's still a risk nonetheless. Um, so I'm recommending not to put the tape in the tray on the bag. Did you have a?
I don't care.
You don't care.
No.
You gotta care. You have to have a left on
I,
the left or on the right. You can't
this
be.
might be one of those things we find out years later that it was a big deal or not. I don't know. Like this one for me is almost like the count sheets in the tray. Should you put them in? Should you not? The ink is hasn't been validated and doesn't have IFU. The paper doesn't have IFU. So the alternative was to put it inside a bag. But isn't it still the same issue if it's inside a bag? That's it. I don't
No.
like this. Is too far into the weeds for me.
Standard of care. Didn't you just say that a while ago?
I
Standard.
did, but I don't. I'm not. I'm not aware of any research that would indicate that this could potentially cause harm. Is what I'm saying. So I don't know if it'll become a thing where later down the road we find out it really was a big issue. But right
Right.
now, I'm not aware of any research that would indicate to me that putting a piece of indicator tape on an indicator in a tray would cause harm.
I don't know.
Maybe it's unnecessary. I mean, they do have those ones with the extended the little fishtail on it to help people find. Because I mean, the big deal is can they find it? And well, hopefully that they're checking for it, ASTs. But
But
can they find that indicator as soon as they open the tray? That's what
but
this practice was born out of.
but we don't even follow the standards with the integrator. They just look at the one on the bag. They don't look in the corners. They don't look on the levels. The bag has it. Let's roll.
You no,
So
no,
that's kind of a
don't
false
do our
sense.
scrub tech friends like that. We don't know if they check it or not.
Some some folks.
Maybe we get them often returned in probably the same location in which they were found, but they probably check them. They probably check them.
Yeah. So I've seen many years ago that integrators were only on the bag. They weren't in the tree.
Yeah, I've heard
So
that.
we definitely.
Every facility that I was at did it different. I've had him where there was no tape inside the tray, no bags, no nothing, no indicators. I mean, count sheets, everything went outside the tray. I've also my first position, you took the tape, you folded up the count sheet when we were on file cabinets. This was 15, 14 years ago. You folded up the page, you took a piece of indicator tape, you taped the indicator to the count sheet, you put that count sheet on top of the instruments, you closed the tray. And that's how you did it. So
Mm,
I mean at this point, especially as a manager, would I set that as a practice? No, I don't think it's necessary. But do I know that it's harmful? I don't know that it's harmful.
mm. I don't know either. But what
Ding.
do we really know?
No. Well,
So
we knew that PPE wasn't keeping us safe, and thanks to Corey Offset and Associates, we now have a paper that said as much. So, I mean, that's what I mean. Like, maybe it's something that we find out years down the line that it was an issue, but we don't know now. Our best guess is our best guess, unless
true.
there's something out there that, of course, we haven't seen all the research of everything, but unless there's something out there that we don't know about.
So last but not least, let me put my broadcaster voice on here. So um, if you go to a conference happening soon near you in a place called Texas, will you have your mask on or off? Right.
Ah,
So that
you
was the
will
question.
follow the protocol of the building that you're in. That's what you'll do.
So mask on for no, mask on 22, mask off 4. So the mask on have it.
Okay,
So let's
Quavo.
roll on to the next one. Let's get into this ST91 update.
Bum, ba-da-dum. I don't. So for ST91, I don't have a whole lot as far as the update, because I have not personally had an opportunity to touch a copy. However, I did read a couple of articles that came out around the update, and of course, we're always in the social media on LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, and everywhere, Instagram, YouTube, wherever we be. And so my understanding is that the new copy of ST91 is out, 7 years in the making. Had a plethora of a multidisciplinary team that that worked together to put this together. So there were FDA officials and people from all positions that were involved in this, and there were also two individuals that were heavily involved in leading the charge. One I've worked with before. His name is Garland Grisby, and then the other one I'm searching to make sure that I capture her name because say her name. But what they were able to do was make this guideline more extensive. So they've actually added in some new equipment that needs to be used, as well as particular guidance on these scopes. And some of the feedback that we're seeing is one, yay, there's an update. And then two is, oh my God, this is going to be a seven-figure capital expenditure for me to get caught up. So, but for
So,
better or for worse, 91 is here.
so shout out to Marianne Droznick,
Thank
who
you.
was part of that group also.
Shout out. So this was part of a larger conversation, of course, with scopes, right? We've seen a lot of research and recalls and things come out over the years. Um, and we're going to be having a guest on with us from LinkedIn to talk about that question of expenditures, right? What what are what's really happening here with the update if I get the book and then I have to go pay a lot of money to get updated. And I'm kind of on the fence with it. I mean, one hand I see what they're saying, it's cost money to do these things, and SPD is often the last people to get large sums of money for anything. I mean, like we said earlier, there's still people with file cabinets that haven't even gotten hold of the fact they have data, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but also, if this is what it takes, and this is what it takes, and I kind of feel like this is another place where if we had standards, maybe less people would be doing trashy scope procedures with lackluster equipment just because they can't afford it, but then also access to care. So these conversations are really massive. But personally, I think anytime we can get a more stringent standard, the better.
Definitely, I agree, and the FDA does have some verbiage on that,
Where
on
they
all
do.
the updates for. Yep, the FDA does have. I think AME and the FDA kind of worked hand in hand on this one.
And
So,
there was also, I saw a new update today come out from Corey Offstead and Associates as well. So if you don't follow her on LinkedIn, she posted a link with a pretty dynamic guide to the scopes, and I highly recommend it, especially if you're a technician that doesn't deal with them very often. Um, you want to look at that.
see.
You know who else has really good scope education for free is Healthmark.
Yeah,
There's
yeah, that's Marianne. Marianne works for, and Drosnick
Healthmark.
works
Thank
for
you, Mary
Headline.
Ann Drosnick.
Yeah,
Yes,
they,
Director of Clinical Affairs at Healthmark Industries and a
yeah,
member of Amy's Endoscope Reprocessing Working Group.
yeah.
And
Great.
then we also had Mr. Garland Rea Grisby, and he's the Endoscope Service Manager of Kaiser Permanente in the Northern California region. And that, honestly, especially for me, that I had an opportunity to work with him, not extensively in scopes because that's his area of expertise. And as a manager of sterile processing, I absolutely loved being able to have that partnership where I got to focus on instrumentation. He's savant of, of scopes. Um, and have that partnership because it really does require that much attention. And I would like to see more facilities have scope oversight coordinators like him, or highly specialized scope procedures, or even just pay these techs more when they get a CER because it's specialized
True,
work.
true. I try to encourage everyone within my space to get that CER. So if they get a new opportunity, they'll be able to demand more money,
They will be
because
able to
that's
negotiate. You can't demand
unnegotiated.
nothing.
Oh,
But you can
demand more
negotiate.
money. Demand. Say, I'm not taking this job unless I get this. Okay, and then
Right. Right.
you have to be
Not.
serious about it. You can't be like, oh well, $2 would be better. No, say no. I'm not taking this. I'm an expert in my field. I know what I'm doing. I have experience. I've done this for a long time, and I can even help train the people you have now that are uncertified. So just be confident in what you know, what you do, and
I agree with that to a certain extent. I would definitely phrase it differently for my
I don't
technicians,
know. You don't tell them that. Come on.
but there is, but I do think that's valuable that what you're saying is that there is always room for salary negotiation, and whether or not you'll win it, that's up to the negotiation itself. But There's typically a window of a salary, and they're bringing you in at one point, and you can
Yeah.
potentially make a case for more.
Hmm.
Um, but one thing I do want to add, because I've seen technicians walk away from positions that they probably really should have taken, because they didn't feel like they were going to get paid what they were worth. And were they wrong? No, the positions weren't paying enough. But were they going to get paid commiserate to what everybody in that establishment was already making per experience? Yeah, it was going to be competitive. And you have to think about that, because your salary isn't the only thing that you're getting. You know, you're getting branding, sometimes access to certain equipment. You know, not every facility is doing the same thing. Maybe you're at a level one, you know, getting access to a level one trauma center. Some knowledge and experience just can't be traded when you're talking about salary, because that hospital on your resume 3 or 4 years later could mean another 20, $30,000 when you go for a bigger position.
So true. That is very, very
Tell
true.
them I'm a business.
Yeah.
Read
So
hard.
guys, just know your worth.
Oh, your word.
Um, Make sure you get those extra certifications because they're needed. Don't look at the right now dollar for dollar. I'm paying
Please.
1.5 and the books, and I'm not getting that back, guys. Because look at what you spent on a course, and I'm not talking about the California side because those prices are crazy.
Yeah,
But
California
you,
tripping.
so if you're paying like $1,000 for a course, including books, or even $2,000. Look at one check or two checks, especially if you're on the East Coast. That already covers a week, a month of employment covers all your educational costs, basically. So
Mm.
look at it
Think
like
about it.
think
Think
about it.
about the investment, and opportunity favors the prepared. Like you said, the time to be worried about getting the certification is not when your dream job gets posted. And trust and believe somebody will take it.
Yep.
So, a lot of times as a manager, my conversations with technicians in the office is really just telling them, you know, I see potential in you, and I think you should study and get the certification. And sometimes it's hard to convince people to do that when they don't see the return, because it's not coming to you in a salary bump. You know, you might get a couple of dollars, but we're not talking about anything crazy. But potentially down the road, when you start making moves, it could be the difference between the position.
Yeah,
And
I also want to talk about educators. The educators definitely. I don't know. Some places have different roles for educators, but I think educators definitely need to get in and dig in and be the experts in every area or as much as possible. I'm
I
just
think they
passionate
should
about
be
that.
required, personally.
Yeah, to me,
I think they should be required. I think if you have an operating room and you have a nurse educator, you should be required to have a sterile processing educator.
yeah, you
And they
definitely
should have the same support that OR educator gets.
true. I agree with that. Yeah, but definitely, man, I'm seeing educators out there and they're not giving the support. They're just thrown out to the wolves. Hey, educate, educate on what? Educate on
Oh,
how?
not only educate, but their education and quality management, which
Yes,
honestly, in my personal opinion, are two jobs that shouldn't go together.
yeah,
They
quality
should work closely together, but those are
QA
separate positions.
coordinators, educators and QA coordinators.
Those
So
are
you're
separate positions.
responsible for the quality that the department produces and educating on it.
And
So,
education.
and education for the supervisors also. Don't forget that supervisors do need education too.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. There you
Um,
go.
so how are we looking here?
It is about that time.
It's about that time to end that rhyme. Did that make sense?
Nice.
You know.
So next for the next 2 weeks, guys, I just want to remind you that we will be hosting some HSPA election forums, and so we've invited everybody out to come and join us. We'll be having them in groups of their positions so that we can talk about how does the HSPA board work? What do we get out of it? What do we want to see out of it? Get to know the candidates and then cast a vote. I would personally, and we don't know what the numbers of votership is at HSBA. I don't know if that's a question we can punt to Damien. But I would personally love to see the process involved in increasing the votership this year, because it matters. It's not enough to argue at the water cooler, guys. We gotta get in the game. And if you don't want to get in the game, back somebody that does.
True. And
Okay.
also, you got to plug that show. Come on.
All right.
Let's
Oh,
go.
yes. So, I have some new content coming out. A couple new shows lined up, but I'll be launching a new show. I'm not gonna give you any more details. I have a special co-host that I'm super freaking excited to work with. You guys will be seeing more about it as we get through the rest of this week. But the focus will really be on mental health, and especially around the healthcare workers. So just like I talk here on the process, we'll be talking about some conversations around what's really going on out here, how to take care of yourself, and what we really need to thrive in these corporations. So look out for us. That will be dropping on Monday at 6:30 Eastern time, 5:30 Central time. And help me because I can't do PST.
Oh my goodness.
3:30
Dude,
PST.
so,
So yes, thank you guys, and I appreciate the support in advance. I
yeah,
hope you
so
guys like it.
please support Alessandra. She's doing amazing work. Amazing, amazing, amazing work. And also I want to plug my show too. So I have two new shows coming out. One I will mention, the other one I'm still working on. I have to get some pointers from Alessandra too. So I we have a show called Voices coming out. I'm hoping, praying that the first show comes out okay on Sunday. So Voices is a show based on persons with interesting stories. It doesn't matter what the field is. It doesn't matter what their life's like and where they are right now. So it's basically from birth to where you are right now. And a lot of people have
Mm,
interesting stories, and we're trying to tell those
yes.
stories. So it'll be called The Process Voices, and it'll be basically a one-on-one interview with an interesting person, and we'll get into their life, their background, their successes, their failures, and what got them to where they are right now. So tune in for that. Voices on Sunday nights.
I'm excited. It's just it's exciting. We went from one podcast to a network in a year. I used to have such a struggle managing my time with being a full time manager and then coming home and working on the process, and it's swiftly turned into a full time job. I left my career in corporate healthcare in October of last year, and I'm gonna give this entrepreneurship everything I got. So I also wanted to plug. I do offer career coaching, life coaching, on at the Condre Institute. So you can find me over on Facebook and schedule an appointment. But essentially, just like Denard is saying, we take a look at the whole person, how your home life, your personal life, your mental health, your physical health, what your career goals are, and really get you set on track. Because what we found every time we interview people is that they have God given talent, knowledge, but they don't have that confidence to just step out and say their piece. And we are absolutely happy to support you in doing that. So if you guys have new shows you want to start, but you're nervous about how to navigate it, or you need graphics for your show or something like that, and you don't know what to do, head over to our inbox. We will help you. Because our main thing is to make sure that everybody at the grassroots level gets an opportunity to step into the arena, just like the big boys with money in their pockets. You guys matter. Your ideas matter.
And definitely, definitely. And if you want to if you want to contact us, definitely check out sterilemd.com. We have a little guide there, just fill it out. um, Fill out the whatever department you're from, where you're from, and just indicate exactly what you want to do. Give us a story where we helped you out. Inbox Alessandra. Tell her you want to talk to her, or you want to need some coaching from her.
Yes.
Inbox myself if you want to come on the new show. And I have another new show coming out. That'll be so exciting. I
Nah.
can't even
But yeah,
wait.
we do take calls.
Please take calls.
If you're in the comments and I had a call with you recently, let us know. We do take calls. You guys can reach us. We are accessible. So definitely reach out. The main thing here is we want your resource so that you can keep your patients safe. And the last thing I just want to add is we are traveling around or for conferences this year. And I am as well trying to make sure that if I'm in certain cities, I make myself available to you guys. So I will be in Chicago the weekend of March 25th. If you guys want to do a process meetup, just let me know. We did some here in Oakland, and it was a lot of fun. I got to meet some really interesting technicians, and I just want to make sure again that if I'm in your area, that I'm available to you. All
Definitely,
right.
definitely. And thank you so much, guys. And I guess
If you want to support the show, please head over to YouTube, like, share, and subscribe. And also dropping the link for our Etsy store. Anytime you buy a product there, it helps support the work that we do in the background to make the process possible.
Yes, and then also, guys, we'll be coming out with some processed Snickers too. If you need a shoe, if you want a shoe to show off at the conference,
I
stop at the
cannot
process,
wait.
and we'll be coming out with our first processed Snicker. So
Yes.
stop by, and also leave comments on sterilmd.com. Any requests, if you want to come on any of our shows, just
Or
let
if you guys have questions for the HSPA board forum, drop those at sterilmd.com or in our inboxes and we'll incorporate them into the show.
So, guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you guys.
Mignon.